Over the past year, thousands of American farmers have spoken out about an issue they believe has been simmering for decades. They no longer own their own machinery, and the name that's mentioned the most, it's John Deere. As we began to investigate, a disturbing picture gradually emerged. Tractors that couldn't start without software codes from the manufacturer, cheap components but repair costs reaching thousands of dollars. Independent repair shops are prohibited from accessing technical documentation, and an ecosystem is designed to force farmers back to John Deere, no matter the cost. Analysis of data collected from multiple states shows that this model could generate $4 billion annually, not from selling machines but from controlling repairs. How could a 200-year-old American icon go from being the savior of farmers to the focus of a nationwide controversy? This video will show you the truth behind repair traps, and it might make you look at machines, technology, and ownership with completely different eyes. Let's start the story. For nearly 2 centuries, one name has painted the American plains green: John Deere. But before becoming a corporation with tens of billions of dollars in annual revenue, that journey began in a small blacksmith shop in Illinois in 1837. A noisy place with sparks of steel, but containing an idea that changed all of North American agriculture. John Deere, the young blacksmith, saw what his entire generation overlooked. Farmers were struggling with heavy, crude iron plows that constantly stuck in the soil, making plowing a battle rather than a daily task. And then he did something no one had ever thought of. He created the first self-cleaning steel plow. Although it was just a small invention, the impact was as significant as a storm sweeping through American agriculture. Imagine, an area equivalent to 2,000 football fields is cleared each day, faster, just because a plow is working many times more smoothly. Over the next 3 decades, that symbol continued to spread as the Model D, the legendary tractor line, sold 160,000 units, which is equivalent to a new one being sold every 10 minutes for 30 years. This is not just a technological achievement. It's a promise that machines must serve humanity, that farmers must control their tools, and that John Deere will always be on their side. That's the foundation for building lifelong trust, a true made-in-America brand, rugged, durable, and reliable. As America transformed into an industrial superpower, John Deere also entered its imperial era. From combines and balers to lawnmowers and gator models, rumbling across farms the size of small towns, the brand is every place. In hundreds of interviews with older farmers, we heard the same story. My family has used Deere since my grandfather's time. It's never had any major breakdowns. The American agricultural economy depends on them. The government believes them, workers trust them, the family has believed in them from generation to generation. At that time, John Deere was like a companion, not just an equipment manufacturer, but the very soul of agriculture. At times in the Midwestern states, you could drive for dozens of miles and only see 2 colors, yellow and green. One color represents ripe rice, the other color represents John Deere. That was a time when this brand wasn't just selling machinery, they were selling trust. But what happened in the end? How could a brand celebrated as a hero become so controversial nationwide regarding the right to repair? How did the symbol of America become the focus of accusations of software control, user restrictions, and creating a $4 billion per year repair trap? And more importantly, what was the turning point that made John Deere deviate from its original path, from serving farmers to controlling them? Those questions lead us to the next chapter of the investigation, where the halo begins to crack. Looking back, it's difficult to pinpoint the exact moment when things took a turn. But if I had to choose one image, it would probably be CES 2023, Las Vegas, where tech giants showcased AI, robots, cloud computing, and amidst that forest of tech logos, a familiar green appeared: John Deere. Not in the agricultural exhibition hall, and on the world's largest technology stage, CEO John Deere stood on stage, not talking about tractors, engines, or axles. He introduced John Deere as one of the world's leading robotics and artificial intelligence companies. That's no longer the language of a mechanical engineering company. That's the language of big tech. In internal newsletters and LinkedIn posts, John Deere emphasizes, We are a technology company, and if you look at the hiring data, the picture becomes even clearer. Among the many job openings in the US, the majority are in software, data, and robotics. Traditional mechanical engineering jobs only account for a minority. John Deere has quietly shifted its focus, from manufacturing machines to providing solutions, ecosystems, and data. Sounds a lot like how Apple, Google, and Microsoft describe themselves, doesn't it? And if you pay attention, such ecosystems always come with one characteristic. They are very difficult to escape. And you? Have you ever felt trapped in the ecosystem of a particular tech company? Try naming the ecosystem you find hardest to leave. To understand how John Deere has transformed, we need to look at what changed American agriculture: precision positioning and control technology. They created Starfire, a positioning system that helps tractors know exactly where they are, with an accuracy of no more than the width of a finger. Standard GPS, off by a few meters, but Starfire is accurate to within about 1.5 inches. Combined with AutoTrack, the self-driving system, farmers no longer have to keep watch with the naked eye over fields as wide as a town. The machinery can keep the goods perfectly straight, reduce overlap, and save fuel, fertilizer, and pesticides. This technology is truly a leap forward. Less waste, more output, less waste. But behind a very MBA benefit lies a thriller-colored truth. Everything is now controlled by software, and only one side holds the key. You can only update the system through the manufacturer's channel, activate the feature through the manufacturer's code, connect data through the company's platform. Each tractor, each field, each path was deeply immersed in the John Deere cloud. From selling machinery, they are gradually selling access. In theory, it all sounds very reasonable. Complex software needs to be controlled to ensure safety and avoid errors. But in reality, what farmers see is they can't repair the machines themselves, even for small faults. Outside repair technicians are not allowed to touch the diagnostic software. If the components are not activated with the manufacturer's code, they are considered useless. Modern tractors suddenly resemble smartphones. You can't change much without going through the manufacturer. You can't crack it if you don't want to get into trouble. Everything goes through a single door. From the perspective of a business student, this is an extremely beautiful model shift. Sell the machine once, earn a sum. Sell ecosystems, software, service subscriptions, and collect recurring payments. But from a farmer's perspective, it's, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a machine, but I'll never fully own it. Here, a bigger question arises, not just for farmers. When you buy an item with software inside, a phone, a car, a laptop, a game console, do you truly own it, or are you merely renting the right to use it as permitted by the manufacturer? The story of John Deere is just a particularly visible example, because its consequences are not in the virtual world, but on fields of rice, corn, and beans, where our daily food is produced. If a corporation can decide, when you get fixed, who is allowed to fix you, and how much do you have to pay for a single button, click on the software? So the next question is this still buying and selling, or is it a cleverly disguised form of long-term control? And this is the intersection of rise and fall. John Deere used technology to soar above its competitors, but that same technology also led them into controversial territory, where the $4 billion repair trap began to tighten. In your opinion, where does the line between innovation and control lie? Please comment with your perspective, as this is also a question the whole world is facing. In the coming minutes, we will delve into the dark side of this model: unreasonable repair bills, missed harvests, and why farmers are forced to hack their own tractors. As we delve into the repair costs of John Deere, a disturbing pattern emerges. It's like opening a treasure map, but instead of gold, what lies beneath is a sophisticated charging system that drains farmers of every penny. And the strange thing is, everyone tells the same story. Only the farm owner's name and the error code are different. First, unbelievable bills that happen every day. On a farm in Minnesota, a farmer said his tractor only malfunctioned due to a small $150 sensor. But because the software is locked, he can't replace it himself, nor can he have an outside technician handle it. The result was a bill of nearly $5,000, the majority of which was for software activation, shipping, and exclusive diagnostic services. This case is not isolated. Many farmers told us that the cost of John Deere repairs can be 10–30 times higher than the actual value of the parts. To put it more visually, it's like paying $5 million to replace a $20,000 light bulb. What's noteworthy, this model generates 5 times more service profit than selling machines, a figure that any MBA analyst would recognize as revenue too attractive to let go. Next, we must mention the pain of transportation when 31,000 pounds became hostages. A large John Deere combine harvester weighs the equivalent of 5 African elephants, which is over 31,000 pounds. If it breaks down, John Deere often requires it to be towed to a distribution center because the fault lies within the internal software. The cost of transporting these giant machines can be as high as the equivalent of a full year's university tuition, or with the cost of fertilizer for the entire season. What was particularly shocking? Many farmers say that after bringing the machine back, it only took the technician 5 minutes to run a reset command. A farmer in Iowa told us, "I spent all day pulling the machine, all week waiting, and they just pressed one button." What would you think if the car you were driving only needed a fuse replaced, but the manufacturer required the car to be towed 200 kilometers back to the official dealership? Next, let's talk about the most controversial aspect is the repair lock software, a system described by many experts as a digital iron ring. These unwritten rules are: freelancer, access to the software is not permitted. External components, it will not be accepted by the system without an activation code. Farmers fix it themselves, the machine won't run, the tool won't work. And so, all roads lead to the John Deere dealership. A tech expert likened this to, you change the batteries in your TV remote, but you have to ask the manufacturer for permission to turn it back on. When software controls everything, power no longer lies with the machine owner, but with the party holding the source code. After all, a report from the agricultural sector shows that $4 billion is being taken out of farmers' pockets each year simply because they cannot repair the equipment they own. To put it into perspective, $4 billion is enough to buy nearly 7,000 new Lamborghinis, or pay the average salary for 60,000 workers for 1 year, or buy the GDP of an entire small town in the US. But that number is just money. The biggest loss is time and the season. In agriculture, every day of delayed planting means losing tens of thousands of USD, and sometimes the entire year's yield. And unlike other industries, you can't redo it next week. Seasonal opportunities are like a train that only runs once a year. From interviews, investigations, and feedback from farmers, one thing emerges strongly. They are not afraid of machine breakdowns. They fear they will no longer have any control over the very tools they spent their lives saving to buy. It's the feeling of being stripped of ownership, like a new form of dependence in the age of technology. And when the system became unbearable, farmers started doing things no one could have imagined. They're not waiting anymore. They're not paying anymore either. They chose to hack. Now we'll delve into the underground front of modern agriculture. Software cracking movements, firmware black markets from Eastern Europe, and the largest uprising of American farmers in decades. In your opinion, what makes someone willing to break the law to fix their own machine? Let's leave our thoughts, for this truth is more complex than we think. When repair bills continued to balloon, when seasons were lost simply because of an error code on the screen, and when the feeling of no longer owning your own machine became unbearable, something unexpected happened. Farmers, who are inherently gentle and quiet, began to rise up. And that rebellion wasn't through protests or interaction, but through technology. During this exploration, we encountered stories that seemed straight out of a sci-fi movie. Strange firmware files appear on small forums. A group of technicians in Poland shares an unofficial solution. The mysterious USB drives are passed from hand to hand among American farmers like a secret map. A Nebraska farmer says he used pirated software from Eastern Europe to reactivate his $400,000 tractor in just 15 minutes. Many people describe it as, "I don't want to break the law. I just want to finish the harvest to feed my family." Inside these peaceful farms, a silent war is raging, where farmers are no longer waiting for John Deere. They are creating their own escape. It's noteworthy that this movement didn't start because they wanted to break barriers, but because they were forced to do so to preserve their livelihoods. Alongside the underground technology front is the legal front. In 2023, a U.S. federal court rejected John Deere's request to dismiss the lawsuit, ruling that the allegations of repair monopoly were sufficient to proceed to trial. But the turning point didn't come easily. In 2024, court documents show that John Deere was slow to provide data, delaying the investigation's progress. A lawyer described, "They are trying to buy time because every month that passes means hundreds of millions of USD continue to flow into repair services. The matter is no longer just a story between a tractor company and a few farmers. It became a national front for ownership rights, repair rights, and the transparency of large corporations." The reaction spread across the world. From the UK, Germany, and Australia to Poland, users are sharing the same experience. Machines are locked, repair costs increase significantly. Limited right to repair. Many people say, "We used to consider John Deere an icon. Now we consider them just another big tech company." The collapse of trust spreads faster than any media campaign. John Deere has not only lost the trust of American farmers, but also of global farmers, those who once considered the green Deere logo a symbol of durability. What do you think would make a farmer agree to hack their own machine, not to do something bad, but just to harvest at the right time? And more importantly, is our ownership being gradually taken away under the guise of technology? But the consequences of this uprising weren't limited to the fields. It spread to the very core of John Deere, where revenue declined, widespread layoffs occurred, and controversial decisions put this 200-year-old brand at a critical crossroads. Let's continue. When an empire is successfully built on customer trust, the collapse of that trust will also be the earthquake that shatters the foundation. With John Deere, the consequences began to appear very clearly, not in marketing reports, but in disappearing loyalty. In thousands of comments on agricultural forums, one phrase is repeated: "I will never buy John Deere again." If a brand that was once considered a companion for 4 generations is now being widely rejected by users, it's no longer a phenomenon, it's a crisis of trust. The irony is, when new models are locked for repair, older machines, products 30 or 40 years old, become rare items. In many Midwestern states, a 1980 Deere tractor is sought after like a valuable antique car, simply because it doesn't have software to lock out users. That image is like customers choosing to use old-fashioned flip phones instead of smartphones because they're less complicated. The consequences are not limited to the fields, it went straight into the corporation. From late 2023 to mid-2024, John Deere has cut over 2,000 jobs, including positions at factories that have existed for decades. In Illinois and Iowa, 2 states considered Deere's heartland, residents describe the factories as deserted, as if they had just weathered a major storm. At the same time, the company began shifting production lines to Mexico, citing the reason of optimizing operating costs. But in the eyes of many, this looks like a sign of an empire trying to shed pieces to lighten its load before sinking to the bottom. And the coldest number is in the financial report. Revenue for the second quarter of 2024 decreased by 15%. To put it into perspective, it's equivalent to a large-scale corn farm losing over a month's worth of production. John Deere is not weakened by outdated technology. They weakened because the way technology was used went against its original philosophy. Machines were meant to serve farmers, not control them. From the agricultural heroes of the 20th century, they entered the 21st century as a technology giant with an exclusive mindset. That was the moment the brand image cracked, a crack that no PR firm could cover up with advertising. And the big question that the audience of this report needs to ponder is, can a brand that has lost trust rise again? Was their decline predetermined from the moment they chose profit over customers? To answer this question, we need to look at the bigger picture. How is ownership changing in the age of big tech? The next few minutes will decode the core message of the entire story and why the John Deere case could affect you, even if you've never touched a tractor. If John Deere can lock down tractor repairs, why can't other industries? The reality is that this is happening. New cars contain thousands of lines of code, and many manufacturers have locked out external repairs. Smartphones, that are small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, contain an untouchable software ecosystem inside. Even medical equipment, electric wheelchairs, tools that are crucial for life, operate under layers of code that cannot be modified without a license. We are entering an era where the word buy is beginning to lose its traditional meaning. Perhaps one day the purchase agreement will state, you are buying the equipment, but the right to repair, the right to replace components, the right to intervene still belongs to the manufacturer. Sounds like an episode of Black Mirror? But this is real life. A big question arises for everyone watching this report. Are we trading true ownership for the convenience that technology offers? When ownership fades, where does power concentrate? The answer is usually the same, from the perspective of the corporations that hold the source code. But the picture isn't all dark. If the right to repair movement is widely implemented, the future could be very different. Devices would be more durable, as manufacturers would have to compete on quality rather than service lock-ins. Repair prices will be more transparent, opening up the local repair market, just like how mechanics existed for decades. Farmers can stand on their own 2 feet rather than living in a cycle of soft dependence. Technology is returning to its true nature, a tool to serve humanity, not to enslave it. And most importantly, ownership, something that seemed obvious, would be restored. Ultimately, the John Deere story is just a reflection of a global issue. We are losing control over what we buy. In your opinion, are we living in an age of virtual ownership? Please leave a comment below. I really want to hear your perspective. If you found this report helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next in-depth investigative videos. All information presented in this video is for analysis, educational, and public service purposes, based on publicly available, verifiable data sources, reports, and documents. The content is not intended to attack, defame, or harm any individual or organization. Any conclusions or interpretations are analytical opinions and do not represent legal judgments.